Hi everybody, welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with Champions League preview. I am Scott. I'm your host for this one, and this week I'm joined by Daryl and Daniel. Daryl, mate, how are you?
I'm really good, mate. I'm tired after a long day at work, but still reveling in the glory of, as the time of recording, yesterday's result against Crystal Palace. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We were dominant from start to finish, and Palace didn't really know how to handle them. Really good performance from everybody on the pitch, and it's just making the days shorter and sweeter.
Yes, and the countdown has begun to the Dortmund game. Daniel, are you looking forward to this one? And how have you been, my friend?
Oh, I've been great. Absolutely great. Nice weekend. Just got home from my mum's for some Sunday dinner. Had some chocolate fudge cake and custard for pudding. Life doesn't get any better than that on a Sunday, I don't think. Now we're about to talk about Newcastle in the Champions League. So it's been a great day, and I cannot wait for Wednesday already. Yeah, I'm unbelievably excited for this.
It's nearly turned into an episode of Canny Chatter there.
I was going to say,
Sunday dinner and your pudding there. Yeah, so we will be doing, or we are going to be doing, this is what this video is, a preview of the Newcastle United versus Borussia Dortmund game. But before we do that, here is a message from our sponsor. The GallowgateShots match preview is brought to you by Magpin. Magpin are the go-to site for high-quality, unofficial enamel pin badges of Newcastle United players, legends and retro kits. For more information, visit their website at magpinbadges.bigcartel.com. So then, it's match day 3 in Group F of the Champions League group stage. Wednesday, the 25th of October is the date, in case you didn't know it already, and it is an 8 p.m. kickoff under the lights, as we all like to say, at St. James's Park. It's going to be an extra special one, this one. Does anybody know why?
I can't think why. Is it something to do with you, is it, Scott?
Yes, I am going to be extra special. I did get a ticket in the ballot. I'm one of the lucky few. So yeah, I've booked a very expensive flight, but a very cheap hotel. And I say cheap hotel, I'm staying at my mum's, so it didn't cost us a penny. Just even
hotel
better.
mum, hey, no better.
Mom, cannot fault it. But enough about me. Let's dive into the game. Dortmund in the Champions League group, currently bottom of that group with 1 point. It was a draw against Milan, and then they got, I think it was quite a heavy defeat from PSG, if I remember. To be honest, because of the Milan result, I didn't really look at the other fixtures. So yeah, a defeat from PSG. You said 2-0, Daniel, yeah?
I think it was 2-0, yeah, off the top of my head. I can find out for you real quick, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2-0.
2-0. But their league form has picked up a little bit, as we were just discussing off air. I think Daniel, you've saying there are 5 league games now on the spin without a defeat.
Yeah, 5 wins in a row. They are, I think they're unbeaten all season. I think they're completely unbeaten in the league. It's just they've got 5 wins in a row. So they are doing very, very well in the league. They had a couple of little hiccups at the start, draws to Bochum and Heidenheim. But since then, they've picked up and they've been winning games, unfortunately. Marco Reus, which we'll talk about later, I'm sure, was injured for a couple of games, came back, and then they just started winning again, which is a shame for us, but I back us against anyone at St. James's Park.
Yeah. Daryl, when the draw was made, 2 months ago now, it seems only like yesterday, but when the draw was made, the teams that we got drew against, obviously, Dortmund was probably the game that you thought, if any of these teams were going to get a result from, these are the ones you'd fancy your chances on over AC Milan and PSG. Obviously, we know what's happened now, but do you still have that high level of confidence, when you look towards this game on Wednesday?
Certainly in the home fixture, yes. I know we're going to be playing them back-to-back now, so we've got them at home in this match day, and their next match day it's the return fixture out in Dortmund. But certainly, like we've said, even in the build-up to PSG, and even when the draw was made, you'd fancy our chances in the games at home, because we are a little bit of an unknown entity for these teams, and we do have that surprise factor on our side as well. And I very much think that it'll be the same again this week as well. The crowd again is going to be playing a massive part in all this. There's another ball flags display to look forward to that we've been preparing for. I think we started preparing for it today as we record on Sunday. I've seen a few posts knocking around since I finished work that they've been in the ground today sorting some big balls out. So look forward to seeing what they've got to see for the display for that as well. And again, don't have to come here, and we're in a pretty decent run of our own. They might be 5 wins on the spin, but we're 5 wins at home in a row, and we haven't lost a game since second or third game into the season. We're doing really well at the moment, and the momentum on our side is just building and building as each game goes by.
Yeah, and I think both teams will have a bit of momentum, Daniel. But like Daryl said, our home form is pretty much second to none, really.
Yeah,
that's got to have something playing towards our advantage going into this game.
100%. Not only do I think it plays into our advantage that we're at home, I think it plays into our advantage that Dortmund are away. They're a leaky team. They don't have the strongest defence in the world. They've got technically good players at the back that aren't usually overly keen on defending as such, except for Mats Hummels, but he is getting on a little bit. And if we've got Isak against him, I'd back Isak against Hummels nowadays. I love Hummels. He's just one of those defenders from back in the day that when I think when a lot of people fell in love with Klopp's Dortmund, he was the centre-back at Dortmund, then obviously moved to Bayern and has since came back. So he was in there with Subotic at the time. So I think people are quite fond of him as a player. But he is getting on. Age catches up to us all, unfortunately. And I think it's a really good time to exploit their weaknesses at the back. And we are really, really good at home. We are dismantling teams at home generally. So in terms of the crowd, the one thing I will say is Dortmund are used to having mental crowds. Yeah. So we will have to be fired up. I'm sure we will be. I don't think there's any question about the fans' commitment in the stadium for this game whatsoever. I think it'll have less of effect than it did on PSG, the crowd, because I think Dortmund are used to it. At the same time, I think outside of a couple of players that Dortmund have who are absolute quality and might give a few issues, generally their quality of player is a lot less than PSG. So I'm hoping that evens it out and it's just another 4-1 battering.
Wow, prediction already in the show.
Hopefully.
Daryl, as Daniel's mentioned there, it is going to be almost like a war flags versus the yellow wall when it comes to the next, the games back to back. And I think Daniel's right in what he's saying is that, the Dortmund players are used to seeing a display. They're used to, I don't think they'll be easily intimidated by something like a war flag display. I think it'll still help us. But obviously we're all looking forward to what they have to pull out, and it should be great, and it'll be nice to be a part of it as opposed to watching it. But are you of the opinion that this is just water off the duck's back to these Dortmund players, and they should be well experienced in this sort of thing to not let it get to them?
Well, I think the one thing you can guarantee is that the atmosphere and the crowd at the Signal Iduna Park is something that Dortmund can draw experience from in terms of what we'll be providing on Wednesday night. We don't even have as an advanced system as they do at Dortmund, any sort of pulley system. I think it's an ambition of war flags for that to be the case eventually one day. But obviously the infrastructure sort of prohibits that for the time being. So I think in terms of that, I think the one thing that we need to do to try and have an effect on the players of Dortmund on Wednesday is to bring that noise again. And I know that on the continent, the ultras are quite vocal and they're quite vociferous in the noise that they can bring to a stadium. But if it just have to go back to PSG, it was a case of the whole stadium was acting as one. And I don't think you sort of get that sort of atmosphere on the continent as such. You had that entire Milan with the Milan ultras, but the rest of the stadium doesn't exactly join in the way that they do. And we were able to bring that to the PSG game, and I think it really helped. It, as much as it may have hindered PSG, and it probably won't hinder Dortmund, it certainly helps us, and it certainly helps the boys on the pitch in black and white, and that's going to give them that added boost that's going to be required, especially against a team like Dortmund. And as Daniel says, yes, they'll have their weaknesses in some areas of the pitch, but they're an experienced European team, and they've been in this competition for a long time now. And it doesn't take much in this competition for a couple of glimpses of quality to see you through a team. And I think we'll get onto it, I'm sure, but they can cause problems for us, and it's up to us to cause better problems for them and to be more clinical.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at some of the players to kind of watch out for, Daniel, on the Dortmund side, I've made a few notes. You can correct me on some of this if it's wrong, but I've got Brandt and Malin, who seem to be the left and right back, who I think they've got 5 goals between them this season, which is
Left and
quite
right wingers, they are.
wingers.
The left,
Okay.
they'll swap sides. Malin is just rapid. That's what he is. He's probably their most improved player this season. He's been a little bit all fart, no shite, pardon my French, historically, particularly for the Netherlands. But at the back end of last season, he started to improve. He's finishing. This season, he's been much better. Julian Brandt is a brilliant, brilliant footballer. He's someone that can get in behind, but he's not the quickest. I suppose the sort of nearest comparison is maybe like a Kulusevski, where he wants the ball into his feet, and he is right-footed opposed to left, but he can use both feet. He's a German, so of course he's technically proficient, but he wants to slide passes through. He's a good dribbler. He can take someone on, and he's been outstanding for them this season. So yeah, 2 players that you picked out are, one is excellent and the other one is really good.
Yeah, and the other 2 I had written down, obviously Hummels, which you've already alluded to. I think he's got 2 goals this season as well. I don't know if he's going to start, but obviously he's, I'm going to assume they've came from corners, unless he's like a Fabian Schär type centre back, likes to, wander into no man's land whenever he feels like it with the ball and just hoof it. And then obviously, we touched on Marco Reus or Roos.
Royce.
Like
Rolls Royce. Like a Rolls Royce.
Well, we've got our own Rolls Royce who should be back in this game. And he should have him in his back pocket, but we'll see. Although I don't know if he is going to be back. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, he obviously, I think he's the heartbeat in that attack for Dortmund. 3 goals and 1 assist, even though he's been out this season. But like you said, Daniel, he is the penalty taker for Dortmund. So, take his stats really with a pinch of salt when it comes to goals scored.
Yeah, I think it's more his overall influence in the team. He's the captain. And he is Mr. Dortmund. He famously came out and said, Bayern can never buy me, when all his mates like Goetze and Hummels did go off to them. I think he did leave Bayern when he was really young in his career, about 19, came back, and he is just Mr. Bayern now. Left Dortmund, came back, and now he's Mr. Dortmund now. Sorry. So yeah, he's the heartbeat. He is he's the one that they will look to when they're sort of having a bad game. In his influence outside of what he can do on the ball cannot be understated. So he is going to be one of their main danger men, and it's got nothing to do with his fantastic technical ability on the ball. As well, just to compound things, they've signed Füllkrug in the summer. So people may have seen him for Germany at the World Cup, came off the bench, scored against Spain. He's a really good forward. He can do like anything and everything. He's maybe not a world-class forward, but he can blast that ball. He's like a Shearer. I'm going to put my foot through it. He's like a Wish.com Alan Shearer, where you score in the box, go out the box. He'll be physical. He'll head it. He can get past people. That's sort of his game. He had a poor game at the weekend, but prior to that, he got a couple of goals. And because of all the options he can provide as a sole striker, opposed to the other forwards that they've got, like Moukoko and Haller, it's opened up Dortmund's game, and I'm sure one of the reasons why their form's really improved is by actually playing him up front now, because they've got so many different options on how they can play. You can lay the ball off, you can get in behind, they can cross the ball in. So that's going to be a really, really interesting battle between him and our defenders. But I think our defenders are going to relish it because he feels like a Premier League striker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can turn our attention to our defenders and our team really as a whole, Daryl. Obviously, weekend just gone, few players back from injury, a couple of players who maybe were rested a little bit for this game. Big question marks really are over Sven Botman, and is he going to be fit or not? We've seen him lurk. I don't want to say lurking around, but he was in and around the dressing room. He was in the crowd watching the game. What's your opinions? What's the word that you've heard? Is he going to be back in time? Is he not? I'm not calling him 90K or anything, but
Well, no, but as we did in the preview for the Crystal Palace game, we thought he might, if he was close to being fit, he could still be rested for that game. However, I think Eddie Howe came out afterwards and said that he was still another couple of weeks away before being back in. So we're going to have to live with him without him in the squad for another little while yet. However, that's not really a problem at the minute because Lascelles has come in and been an absolutely outstanding replacement for him, and he's come in and he's just been like the complete model professional, and he's been doing his work diligently, and he's been fantastic. He's got a few clean sheets to his name alongside Fabian Schär and Trippier and Byrne. So we can't really fault the fact that we're missing Sven Botman at all. The problems then become if one of those two currently gets injured, and then we're really starting to scrimp and save, and it's a case of either moving Dan Byrne in or bringing Paul Dummett into the side. And that's when things start to get a bit muddy. But Kieran Trippier came off early on Saturday, so he'll be ready to go, I think, for Wednesday. His legs were saved for the last 10, 15 minutes. And again, it's always been this question about Dan Byrne coming up against these tricky, pacey wingers. And to be honest, this season he seems to have passed every test with flying colours. So I'm not even that worried about that this time around, especially after the way he dealt with Diaby against PSG as well. He had that one early scare, and then it was plain sailing for him pretty much for the rest of the game. So the defence in itself should be more than capable of handling this Dortmund attack. I think the key thing for me is just pushing it up slightly into midfield, and it's going to be how that midfield three handles the threat of the attack. And I think for me, the return of Joe Linton on Saturday was absolutely pivotal for that. And I think for me, I'd be wondering whether or not, I mean, we don't want to have to be negatively worrying about how to deal with Dortmund's players. It's more what can we do to impose ourselves on them. But I think the option may be to try and stick either Bruno or Joe Linton on Marco Reus to try and stifle his game and maybe disrupt that Dortmund attack. But like I said, the defence isn't that much of a concern at the minute because it's ticking along really nicely and they're doing really well.
Yeah, and I suppose if we do move up to that midfield, Daniel, obviously we kind of mentioned the midfield without touching a little bit on the Sandro Tonali incident. Are we expecting that to be the hearing before the game and he'd be missing, or do you think maybe he could feature still?
I think he's going to feature. Again, I have no idea whether he's going to start or not. I doubt he will. The fact that he gave the go-ahead for Joe Linton to start in midfield the weekend. So I think there'll be another benching for Tonali. But I think it's going to be after this game. I think that's the end of it for me personally. I think that's going to be when the hearing's done. I think it's going to be midweek at some point. And then once this all stamped, etc., I think that's him going to be, unfortunately, suspended for, I reckon, 12 months. That's sort of where I think it'll be 12 to 18 months is what's speculated, but I think closer to 12. Yeah, so it's not ideal. It's not ideal, but it's a good time for Joe Linton to come back. We've still got Elliot Anderson, who I think has been terrific in there when he has played anyway. And then you don't even need them when you've got bloody Sean Longstaff and Bruno playing the way that they're playing at the minute. They are unbelievable. Like, Bruno definitely doesn't have an ankle injury anymore. He is on it, and Sean Longstaff is just absolutely mustard. Them two, I think, are going to make all the difference in this game. I think they are the key to the game. Bruno's the one that I'd put on Royce because Bruno is more like tenacious than Joe Linton, but also positionally. Marco Reus is absolutely fantastic playing in the pocket. And we are historically not very good at playing against number 10s because we don't have that number 6. Like, we don't have that natural player. Joe Linton's biggest issue playing in midfield is his position is pretty bad. I'd say it's below average for a central midfielder. It's better than what it was, and he's definitely been improving. However, I think with these injuries and then getting played left wing last season, which I think he's better at anyway, I think that's caused him to, again, regress into the fact that he's just not a centre mid. He's raised as a forward. He played most of last season as a left winger, and that's absolutely fine. I love him for what he is. Because of that, we're talking about margins at an elite level. You can't put Joe Linton on Marco Reus. That's a complete mismatch. As big and as physical as Joe Linton is, we're all grown-ups here. Doesn't matter that he's bigger than Marco Reus. Marco Reus is 4 steps ahead in his brain. He's quick. And he just needs half a yard for a shot. Or even worse, to pass a ball through because he can thread balls. Whereas I think Bruno, being, I think, over the last 4 weeks, probably the best midfielder in the league. It just makes sense to get him there. And then Marco Reus might not track him when we're in possession in terms of picking up the ball. I back his fitness, especially after, what did he play, 65 minutes, 70 minutes at the weekend, when he's been playing 90 plus minutes recently before that. So I have full confidence that Bruno can do both ends against Reus, and he's going to have the support of Sean Longstaff anyway with him. In that, just allow Joe Linton to be Joe Linton in the middle. Let him bully people. Let him not have to worry about too much. Allow him to be the one that, because I imagine we're going to do similar to PSG, where we have that Venus flytrap sort of tactic. When the ball comes through, we then press from both ends defensively and then the midfield. Allow him to do that, where he can't be caught with his pants down or anything. That's sort of where I'd be leaning for what I'd want us to do. And I think our midfield three against Emre Can and Mecha, who we were linked with in the summer, came out with some homophobic comments. So I don't think many Newcastle fans actually wanted him as soon as he made those public. And then Marco Reus. I definitely think we can get the better of those three, just for the amount of energy that we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. If we turn our attention a bit higher up the pitch to the attacking three, as it probably will be with an Eddie Howe team, I think we're probably all in agreement that Anthony Gordon starts. I don't think anyone really goes ahead of him. But I think this weekend, Eddie Howe has given himself the ultimate headache, the killer migraine. And what do you do with a player like Jacob Murphy, who is having the form of his life, having probably the best years he's ever had in a Newcastle shirt this season and last season, and then put Mickey Elmer on, who you'd probably expect to walk back into the side, but then Murphy pulls out a performance like he did against Palace. Is it just to keep it as is, Daryl, or is it a rest Murphy and give Miggy his opportunity? Although it's not really House style, is it?
That's true, and I think just to kibosh that just for a second, I probably think we can all agree in here that Isak will start.
Yes,
I think.
I think Isak will start.
I think it speaks for itself.
I was surprised he got minutes
and I think,
on Saturday or Sunday. I didn't think he would get any at all. I thought he was, but he's a player who hasn't played or trained, I think, in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
because he
had
so maybe that was just getting minutes in him.
You have Absolutely. To. You've got to. You can't have him going to this game cold. He's got to even half an hour running about, getting a touch of the ball, getting that feel back.
Absolutely. So to get back onto the right hand side conundrum, I suppose is a good way to put it. For me, I think the Champions League style of football suits Miggy Almiron down to the ground, and it paid dividends against PSG at home in the last game. It's very much Miggy's little playground itself on that side. His pace comes, his pace and his desire and his work, it really comes to the fore when we're playing in this competition. And I don't know what it is, but I just think that we might not see it as much domestically from Miggy, but on a European stage, it really suits him down to the ground. And I really feel sorry for Jacob Murphy, because I've mentioned something this afternoon at the time of recording on Twitter about the graphic that was used to mark his goal yesterday. I'd quite happily see Jacob Murphy score forever, just to see that keep going and be used going forward. But and I think he can probably be hard done by, and he'll understand that. I think all the players understand that the selection is based on the maximum return we can get in a game, rather than it's nothing personal. And the way the group are, we know there's a lot of togetherness within the group, and it's a really close group of players, and they're all backing and fighting for each other. So it doesn't really matter who starts. They're all there, and they're all supporting each other, and they all want each other to do well. Unless you're Callum Wilson and Alexander Isak, of course, that's been publicly known, made public knowledge, I should say. But yeah, I think for me, it would be Miggy coming back. And I think the only reason Miggy didn't play more minutes on Saturday was simply because he was a late arrival back from international duty in South America with Paraguay. So it made sense again. He got a few minutes anyway towards the end, just like Isak, and just to bring him back in and warm him up again and get him a couple of training sessions before the game on Wednesday, and let him run riot down that side against Brandt or whatever, and see what trouble he can cause.
Yeah, I agree. I think as well, Jacob Murphy's already said in interviews that he knows his place in terms of I know it'll be, I'm not going to play every game. but he's just happy to be there, I think. And
Aye.
I think he got his start against, was it Milan he started against, or was it?
Yeah, Milan.
Yeah, it was. And you saw how much that meant to him when he
Yeah.
was just lining up.
He's one of
I
us.
think he'd love to do that at St James's Park,
Exactly.
but maybe that's a game where, I'm not wanting to jinx anything here, but if we're through and we're qualified before that Milan home game, look at Daniel's face. I'm putting it out there. You only need 10 points and we're close. Well, we've got 4, but yeah. But I think, that might be the opportunity where you give some of those the fringe players their opportunity to start in a Champions League game and get those minutes in. Plus, also can come on off the bench and actually cause havoc as well. So, it's a nice conundrum to have. We'll turn our attentions to our predictions. Daryl, mate, we'll stick with you. What's your predictions for Wednesday night?
Well, you know what it is? I really don't want to sound... I mean, I'm not going to sound overly confident in this. I don't want to sound like big-headed or like that, but, given the way everything went against PSG, and it was all like suddenly all the stars aligned and everything just worked out perfectly forward to a degree. I really do think that we can do it again. Not necessarily to the same effect, but I do think that the crowd, that place is something else on a Champions League night. Everything I remember from 20 years ago to just a few weeks ago when we played PSG, and everything coming flooding back, and the emotions are running high, and the place is just bouncing, atmosphere is electric, the whole lot. I don't see why we can't do the same again as a fan base and regenerate that atmosphere. And I think it'll be a lot closer than PSG, to be fair. And I think we'll probably, as I said for PSG, actually, I think we'll edge out 2-1 winners.
2-1, nice. Yeah, I think Daniel, these evening kickoffs suit a Newcastle crowd. I don't know what it is. We might have to ask Micah Richards what it is.
I think it's the culture in the words of Micah Richards.
Culture, that's it. But all these Champions League games are, apart from maybe when you get a 5 o'clock one, but even then, later
the
on,
last ones
they're all 8 o'clocks, aren't they?
Yeah,
I think the Milan games are 5 o'clock kickoff, if I remember rightly.
Well, the first one, and also the first Milan kickoff was a 6 o'clock kickoff, or whatever it was in this country. Yeah, it would have been 6 o'clock. The next Dortmund game away is an early one, but I think the Milan at home and the PSG away are both 8 o'clocks as well.
Yeah.
But with that in mind, what's your predictions?
3-0 Newcastle.
Ooh, straight in there.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? The more that just full stop.
Yeah, mic drop. It's attached, but I'll unplug it. I think if we score 1, Dortmund capitulate. They've got a very weak mentality. The manager isn't very good. I think the fact that we're at home means a lot. The fact that they're away means a lot. I think away from home is going to be a very different story. By the way, I just think Daryl said it right. I'm being very sort of logical about it, but I just like the way that he put it with the stars aligned. And I just feel like they are aligning at the minute. Like, we drew 0-0 with Palace twice last season. We've just thumped them 4. It could have been 6 or 7. And with how we're playing, even away from home, like I know that we didn't have a great game against West Ham, but West Ham are a European team. And that's my concern when we go away to Dortmund, when we go away to Paris and that sort of thing. And we saw what happened away to Milan. But at home, I fear absolutely no one, except for a 10-man Liverpool.
Can I ask one question before I give my predictions? Were the stars aligning just those Salah drones? Is that what that was?
Yeah,
nice Newcastle. Yeah, okay, cool.
Thank you, Salah.
Well, yeah, thank you, Salah, for the drones and the fire
stars.
The massive kit on the first game. Bring the kit back. Although the Champions League star goes in the middle on a Wednesday night, so maybe it's not this game. I'm in two minds because I've said to myself, I need to stop lowballing my predictions, because every time I go, it's going to be 1-0, it's going to be 2-0. We end up smashing teams. But obviously, this is a completely different story. It's a completely different level of competition. I do think Dortmund will score. I don't think they'll score first. But I think I'm with Daniel. If we can get the first goal, we're off to the races, and there's no stopping. Maybe the Dortmund goal will be a consolation near the end, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory. I don't think we'll get as an early goal as we have been scoring of late, but I think we'll certainly get, maybe it's 30 minutes in, we're going to get an absolute wonder goal from Bruno. And I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to give you goal scorers. Why not? I think it's going to be Bruno. I think Anthony Gordon is going to miss 5 opportunities and then score 2 more. So it's going to be Gordon with 2. And then Bruno with 1. I mean, I'm giving you missed chances. I mean, what more can you want?
That's a lot for Gordon, 2 goals, because he does. I mean, you'll have 3 on a plate, and I think you'll get 1. I've just had a quick look there, not to jinx anything. I'm touching wood as I speak. Everyone that's superstitious. Dortmund have conceded in every away game this season.
There you go.
Ooh. So I think we score, and I think if we score. You're exactly right. Off to the races. I'm just nicking all your lines now, lads.
Well, before anything else gets stolen tonight, let's wrap this one up. Boys, it's been a pleasure. Let us know in the comments below what you think the score is going to be. Let us know if you're a Dortmund fan watching this. Have we missed anything out? Are you looking forward to the game? Are you looking forward to a night on the big market afterwards? Because that's what it's all about, as well as the football. And if you are going to the game, have the best time. I will. I don't care what the score is going to be. I'm going to have the best time because I watched that PSG game and I promised myself I'm going to one of these Champions League games, and I just got very, very lucky, like I said. But we will see you in the next one. If you've liked this video, scroll down from this video and hit the subscribe button. If you want to know when new videos go live, you can hit the little bell that appears once you do that. And give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you've liked or disliked this video. It feeds the algorithm and it gets us into the hands of other Newcastle and Dortmund fans. If you want to go one step further, we do have a membership program. It's $2.99 or $4.99 a month. That gets you early access to these type of videos. Gets you exclusive access to certain other videos. It also gets you access to the Telegram group and the Discord group. And if you're even lucky, you get to play us at FIFA clubs randomly one night, as what happened one night this week, I believe.
It did.
And if you've enjoyed the FIFA video, we're about to record another one after this, and there'll be another one out this week as well.
Hopefully with just as much bleeps from all the swearing.
Oh, yes.
Fingers crossed.
I hope so.
We've told Ian, but if Daryl gets the wrong kits again, I cannot be held responsible for what language comes out of people's mouths.
I didn't do anything wrong there.
Anyway, thanks everybody. Thanks Daniel. Thanks Daryl. I keep calling you Darren because that's your FIFA name. We will see you in the next one. I'll see you in Newcastle.
See you in Newcastle.
If you come up to us.
Cannot wait for a pint, mate. Cannot wait.
Excellent. See you, everybody. Ta-da.
Bye now.